1v1s, and he nearly managed to go for a 1v1 against Rifty. But we are jumping into the second game, and once again we see the LeBlanc is going to be banned out here. Zoiran not going to be able to get his hands on that assassin anytime today, and Gnar will be the second ban.
Yeah, Tam Kench going to be banned out here by TCA once more. Looks like their pick and ban strategy seems fairly static at this point in time. Now, Last Remedy have a couple of things to think about. Gnar has been banned out. Do they ban anything from TCA? Were they bothered by maybe Jet being on Rek'Sai? Is that worth a look at in terms of ban strategy here for Last Remedy? Cassiopeia definitely again taken off the board there for Krogson.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised by that at all. Oh, hello. Hi, guys. Well, apparently... oh, no, we are still in champ. I thought that was maybe a dodge or something.
Nah, I think client maybe slightly crashed. We're back. That was the smooth. No one even noticed that Munchables. That was completely unnoticed by
transition.
Everybody.
That was the transition between no Cassiopeia ban and a Cassiopeia ban.
I'd be surprised if Twitch chat even picked that up, to be honest.
Never. No chance. But there we go. Echo is going to be the ban coming out from TCA. Yeah, can't say I'm surprised by that, knocking that away from Riskin.
But you have first picks, so either Yoppa is saying, I don't feel confident enough playing Echo in the top lane, which is interesting given that I think Echo needs to be a staple for every top laner's repertoire at this point in time. But they're just saying, actually, maybe Yoppa prefers something else and doesn't want to play into Echo. Maybe that Fiora again for Yoppa. He didn't look, poor on Fiora, to be honest, and Braum is the final ban. So Last Remedy, they value that as their first pick, and they value it as a last ban. They don't want to give Braum over to Raisins, which actually is sensible given that Raisins is a very good Braum player.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Braum was the first pick in that first map as well, so we'll see whether that. I'm really curious now as to what TCA are actually going to opt to go for here. What is going to be their strategy moving into this second map? Because they certainly have to change things, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see TCA go for something a little bit more early game oriented, so they can't fall behind as far this time around.
Absolutely, and I'd like to see Krogson on something that can be a little bit more proactive in the mid lane. Anivia was great, but you never really pick Anivia to single-handedly win lane. I know Frozen Dawn would disagree with me, but most people would say that Anivia is a difficult lane matchup to win into practically anything, really, and you're really there to farm and get towards a late-game team threat presence. I think Anivia is such a difficult champion to play right now because of the fact that her ultimate got quite severely hit in terms of utility. So any Anivia players have to be at absolute top of their game to really be an effective threat. They're going to prioritize Karma here first, which is very interesting. I don't know how much of an impact Raisins had on Karma, but maybe we see Krogson take it mid this time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it just go down to Raisins once more.
No,
I think they seemed comfortable with that pick. It didn't feel like Karma was the issue in terms of their composition necessarily, so we'll have to wait and see whether that is going to be the case. I would certainly expect them to maybe go for something a little bit more aggressive with Krogson this time, and one thing that we've failed to mention is Syndra hasn't been banned this time. So I think Krogson will definitely have his eyes towards that champion.
Especially on the next rotation if we see Last Remedy lock in here. Elise makes sense. I'm not sure about Xin Zhao. I've seen some Xin Zhao recently in solo queue, but I have not seen it edge its way into competitive, and therefore it's more likely to be Jhin for Toaster, and they may even pick up Syndra here. Zweiren going to take Syndra from Krogson. That is a huge blow, I would say, to Krogson. I'd imagine that TCA had this intention to pick it up on this rotation.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, but, there is always the other side of this. When you do pick one of those champions early on, sorry, let me rephrase this. When Krogson is going to be that guy that we're looking towards playing that Syndra, because he's played a lot of Syndra, he knows how to play against Syndra as well. So he's going to know exactly what he needs to pick to really give Zoiran a hard time in this lane and really make it as difficult as possible going into this 1v1 matchup.
Now, he's maybe picking a Ziggs here, which strikes me as interesting because, again, it's not a proactive mid lane pick. You're really going to be playing from range, clearing waves. Maybe we see a Yorick here for Yoppa. I have seen some Yorick in the jungle, but honestly, his first clear is abysmal and it's very easy to exploit. I would be more likely seeing that in
the Yorick isn't allowed.
Oh, I was going to say
it's only just been reworked.
It's only just been reworked,
I don't
so
think
it's
that's
banned.
allowed in the tournament right now. I was getting a little bit nervous that they were going to lock that in. I was like, probably shouldn't do that.
It's the caster's curse of talking about things before they get locked in.
Yeah.
Because you always want to talk about something, and then they hover over random picks, and you're like, oh, Yorick, and then, oh, yeah, it doesn't get locked in.
Oh,
anyway.
look at Teemo. Yeah, but one thing that we have failed to mention so far, TCA, they've locked in a Sivert, they've locked in an Olaf. We said they need to change their tact. We said they need to go for something different.
Is it just a Dyrus comp?
If that isn't all in, then I don't know what is.
Just a Dyrus comp. You know, there's the TSM Olaf composition that we saw. Did run a Lulu previously, however, so instead of the Karma. But again, it's a lot of speed boost here. Severe ultimate, the buffed up shield from the Karma. You're going to have a lot of movement speed on this Olaf. But again, that linchpin relies on Olaf doing well in lane. And it looks like we're going to see maybe a Trundle, but I would more likely see that Nutri picking Trundle in the bot lane here to go into the one.
That's one of the things about the Trundle, right? It's that flex pick.
Yeah.
They can send it to the top if necessary, but also Nutri is more than happy to play that in the bottom.
But also you take it away from Raisins here because obviously we could know that Yopper could flex the Karma into mid lane and you have Trundle in the bot lane. That proves to be a very heavy engaged comp. You know, you have the speed boosts from the Sivir and the Karma, and then you have the Trundle pillar to isolate a target, and then they just get blown up by Yopper on the Olaf and obviously whatever Jet decides to pick up here as well. So
I can confirm as well, those are definitely not the previous picks and bans from last Remedy. There was not, in fact, a Mirror Anivia matchup. But anyway, Yorick wasn't banned either because, well, he was banned, but tournament-wide, not specifically in the game. But here we go. Vladimir might be the pickup here. Yopper going for the Fiora again.
Okay, so
last game, not knocking his confidence.
Not knocking his confidence at all. The Echo is off the table. I did think that, you know, the fact that they banned Echo meant that he had the idea maybe to go for a Fiora once more. They're going to be running with Jet, Olaf, Jungle here. Now, good clear, but obviously ganks aren't always the best. You don't really bring a lot of hard CC to the table. You have to be consistently landing those undertows, and it usually combines with another form of CC in the lane to work effectively. But your ability to duel in the jungle is very good. Your objective control can be excellent as well, given Olaf's passive, and your ability to siege turrets on low HP is fantastic too. We're going to see Rifty, however, though, picking up the Gangplank.
This is going to be an interesting matchup, Fiora versus Gangplank, and I'm curious to see how this is all going to pan out. Actually, no, Raisin's going to be playing Fiora support. I doubt it, but here we go. Vladimir as well against Syndra. These are some interesting 1v1s, but specifically very explosive 1v1 matchups going to be coming out.
I actually think Vladimir does struggle here into the Syndra, but obviously you have the ability to pull out the ultimate. You can block a lot of the damage there, and also you can eventually build path against very heavy burst champions like Syndra. Your build path does favour that. You generally tend to go Spirit Visage first, so you're going to be naturally building into magic resistance, which is very good against the likes of Syndra. So as long as Croxon doesn't receive too much pressure, and that just really means avoiding stuns and not allowing Broxer on this Grave to capitalize on it, I actually think Croxon may have the ability to do well here. And obviously the team fight damage from TCA is pretty ridiculous too, and that's even if Yopper decides to join. They have a pretty scary 4 versus 4 in this situation. My only worry is that, this is the worry I always have when you run a Gangplank into a Fiora, is that Gangplank can have a cross-map effect. That's just what Gangplank does. He has the ultimate that means he can impact teamfights from anywhere across the map, and as the game progresses, that only becomes more and more valuable and more hard-hitting. And he split pushes like a boss, wave clears like a boss. That kind of really puts a spanner in the works of the only game plan that Fiora generally has, which is split push. So I always do like Gangplank into Fiora, as long as Fiora isn't absolutely dominant in killing Gangplank every time they get into a 1v1, Gangplank eventually should have the better utility in terms of a team fight and team presence.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's all going to be, once again, in this top lane, about the early game. It's going to be about whether or not Yopper can get ahead. If he can, fantastic. Gangplank will struggle to deal with the Fiora. I mean, Fiora is one of those heroes that if you do manage to get ahead, if you do manage to start that snowball, it's so difficult to actually get back on top of that situation. But Gangplank as well, very, very similar kind of scenario.
The one interesting thing in terms of microplay between these two particular champions is obviously the most damage that Gangplank will do will be through barrel explosions, which you can riposte. Yep. So it's actually fairly telegraphed when you need to riposte, especially if you have a chain-linked barrel explosion. You see Gangplank use parley, instantaneously know that you're going to be needing to use riposte soon. So you time your riposte so that you manage to block out a barrel, then actually you give yourself the best situation to win a 1v1 versus Gangplank. It's a very skill-orientated matchup here.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we'll see who is going to be able to take the advantage. But I think we haven't really given enough chatter over towards Jet on this Olaf right now. Olaf Jungle coming on through. He's going to be up against Broxer on the Graves once more. We already saw last game Broxer very dominant on that Graves. 3 buffed onto Jet on the first rotation of buffs, which is a huge deal.
Yeah.
What do you think Jet is going to be able to bring to the table on this Olaf that he wasn't able to on Rek'Sai?
So he has the ability to dive Toaster here, and also the fact that they've got good engage with the Karma and Sivir. You can eventually put Toaster on the back foot where he's not able to use his Curtain Call as effectively. Obviously, even with Rek'Sai, when you use the tunnel, if you're taking Curtain Calls to the face, you're still getting slowed. Olaf has the ability to just negate all of that, tank up those Curtain Call bullets for his team, and run straight onto the back line and deal with Toaster. He also, you know, with the combined maybe pressure in the bot lane, can get good bot lane ganks off. You can root people with Karma, you've got good slow as well. I don't imagine he's going to have much success other than the top lane and bot lane. I think mid lane, especially with the Vladimir, will be very difficult to make stuff happen. Because obviously Olaf, to be honest, his ganks in the short lane isn't very good. His ganks in the top lane, however, and the longer lanes can be more effective. So maybe we see the pressure from Jet go to top and bot this game. I would not be surprised in that situation.
Well, we'll have to find out as well. We're going to be heading toward the load screen, and I'm curious to see how this one is going to pan out and how we see TCA play differently on this one, because it certainly looks like their composition is a little bit more kind of team fight based, a little bit more aggressive, but again, it's looking more towards the late game aggression. They do have some things that can lend towards the early, lend towards the mid, but generally speaking, you know, Fiora split push, it's a late game strategy, and as well, like, Olaf is one of those heroes that can be very, very effective in the mid game, but when you get to the late game, that's when he becomes a real terror for the AD carry to deal with. So I'm curious to see what their game plan is going to be.
Yeah, but the issue is because Jhin naturally benefits from armor penetration. He actually has one of the better marksmen to burst through heavy amounts of armor. So as it gets towards the late game, it becomes a race of how close Olaf can get to the Jhin before Jhin eventually bursts through the armor that Olaf will have naturally built up. So again, I'm also interested, and obviously armor will be the direct route for Olaf. You're going up against a Gangplank, Graves, and a Jhin. You probably are not going to build anything other than the Locket that you think Razors might pick up here eventually. So, you know, Olaf Jet has good single-mind defensive strategies for this game. I'm looking forward to seeing what TCA can do here. I think they've got a much more proactive team composition. I think they have a little bit more impetus. They can make a little bit more decisions in terms of when they want to engage rather than having to be reactive. So I think this is what they need against Last Remedy. But like you said, Last Remedy's laning out of this world, and if they get ahead of TCA once more, it's almost dead fish in a barrel.
Well, we'll see if they are going to beat fish in a barrel, whether Broxer is going to be able to shoot them on through. But TCA 1-0 down in this series now. Last Remedy managing to take that first game in a very convincing fashion. And TCA kind of left reeling from the punches that Last Remedy are throwing right now. We'll see whether or not Last Remedy can keep up the dominant performance. So far yet to drop a game in the group stages, but we are only 3 games in. So let's see if they are going to be able to keep that run up, or whether TCA are going to be able to give them a run for their money instead.
So the benefit, I think, here for TCA compared to the last game in the bot lane is that they actually have really good wave clear and really good wave push against Last Remedy. So there won't be any shenanigans where Last Remedy are able to push the wave very heavy towards TCA's turret, and then you have invades coming through from the jungler. You probably won't see that happen as often this time round. And actually their ability to push waves means that they can be more proactive in controlling the dragon as well. It's always good as blue side to push up and control dragon. You have a little bit more pressure that way. So I think with both the Sivir and Karma, I think TCA will have a slightly better work of things. They do lose Emily minion after doing the Krugs though, and may have even lost that second one. It would have been very close, so maybe not as beneficial going for those Krugs as they previously would have hoped.
Yeah, absolutely, but here we go. Yopper already taking a parlay to the face there, but these tiny little trades at level 1 not really going to make too big of a difference to the matchup, generally speaking. I've got to say, the biggest kind of matchup that I'm looking towards this game, the one that I'm most curious about, is going to be the jungles. Whether or not Jet can have a better run of it, but Raisin's already in trouble here. He's so low, has to flash, and Deadly has to use his heal as well. They're trying to get a bit of damage traded back onto Nutri, but it's just not enough to answer for Raisin's almost dying and burning 3 summoner spells as well.
Yeah, the exhaust, flash, and heal now gone for TCA. And those Krugs, it meant that although Deadly got level 2, the level 2 spike of Sivir really isn't that powerful. You probably would have been better in this scenario just going to the bot lane and pushing the waves. You have better wave clear and wave push, even at level 1 compared to a Trundle and a Jhin. I feel like going for the Krugs, you're trying to go against the level 2 power spike. when actually you probably would have in all situations got to level 2 in a normal lane matchup regardless. So unless they were expecting the bot lane from Last Remedy to take the Gromp, I feel like the Krugs were a mistake in this scenario.
Well, so far, it's not really worked out for them, but they're not too far behind either. Just a couple of CS, but here we go. Broxer is starting to head down towards the bottom lane. In the meantime, though, Jet heading up towards the top. We'll see if either of these teams are going to be able to make something happen. It looks like TCA well aware of what's going on down there, but Risk It might not be so lucky right now. It's going to be slowed up. It's going to be taken straight down. First blood goes the way of Yopper. So much better start this time for the top lane to TCA. And
that was because I said Jet is likely going to have the most impact in the top and the bot lane. And this is because Rifty, and actually Yopper did a really good job of just baiting Rifty into pushing the wave. He took a lot of damage from Parley early on, which meant he was going to play moderately defensively. But he always kept the wave in a position where Rifty probably didn't feel totally comfortable by warding. And obviously was, at this point where the wave is right now, he definitely would have warded, but it was towards that mid lane. Ghost was popped, and actually Rifty had no way to essentially duel that heavy incoming Olaf right there. Didn't even bother using Flash because he knew he died. Now he does have to.
There is the flash because Jet's revisited that top lane, and that summoner is going to be a huge deal. It basically means Jet can just camp that lane as long as he wants and really punish that player. But here we go. Brox has entered the bottom lane. Raisins has no flash, will get rooted, and will get battered straight on down. Home run for Nutri. And that is going to be a kill. Traded straight back, but Risk It goes down. Yopper, this time he's the one in control, and he's the one that's snowballing the top lane.
And this will continue to snowball. Like I said, this matchup is very, very swingy in that top lane. It's very skill-orientated and about who can win and who gets the early advantage and capitalize on it. I have to say, Jet has done an amazing job here for Yopper, and if he can continue this pressure post-level 6 as well against the Gangplank, where he can actually have huge kill potential, you're going to be able to be the dominant split-push presence for the majority of the game. However, Last Remedy are doing a good job of reacting to this situation. They're going to the bot lane. They're actually taking out the other potential win condition here for TCA and saying, well, if you put pressure in the top lane, the only other lane I know you'd want to have pressure in is the bot lane, so we put pressure down there.
Yeah, and they have been doing that. However, they're not too far ahead just yet. The CS is just about even. There is obviously the assist in Toaster's hands, but it was Nutri that got the killing blow in the end, so not the most ideal situation. Obviously, that kill is going to go a long way regardless, but definitely not perfect. Krogson has been found in this mid lane. Might be able to get away with this one. Does still have both summoners, and actually going to go straight back in on this one. Uses that pull to keep himself alive, and will get healed quite significantly. The ult there from Zoran didn't have enough orbs available, and it means that it does barely any damage whatsoever.
Yeah, he only had 3 orbs available at that situation, but a good roam by Nutri, really starting to put pressure across the map. However, didn't burn any summoners from Krogson. Krogson turns around, obviously, with the Hemoplague that now heals on the finality of its cast, and they actually ended up burning the Ghost of Zwyron. So, despite the roam, it was good for TCA, and now it looks like Broxer is trying to react to Yopper in this top lane, having a lot of pressure onto Rifty, but Yopper has flash, has a lot of health available as well, so probably isn't going to be at too much of a risk here. The only other issue now for TCA is this freeze in the bot lane. Toaster and Nutri now starting to put the pressure on, forcing TCA to move up to clear the waves.
Absolutely, but I don't think they're too afraid of that. They know that Broxer was up in the top lane, so they're going to be able to just push onto that one. They do take a bit of damage for their trouble, but this is one of the disadvantages of having that Trundle support. You don't really have much hard engage unless you find the perfect pillar to really push on in with. Broxer looking for a fight in the jungle. I'm not sure you want to 1v1 the Olaf. Does have collateral damage, though. Might be able to finish him off. There is the ultimate. Krogson almost goes down as well. But here comes Yopper looking for another kill. Oh, he did. What? Was it red buff? It must have been red buff that got the kill there at the end, but it is traded. Yopper manages to get the second one. I actually have no idea how he died. Was it red buff?
I think it must have been red buff, or maybe the edge of collateral damage, because I feel like
he died after the collateral damage.
Yeah, it was definitely probably red buff then, because otherwise no way. But Yopper does pick up another kill for himself. He's now 3-0 on this Fiora, putting lots of pressure onto Rifty, who doesn't yet have his Sheen either, only sitting on that mana crystal, and a Doran's Ring as well. That's obviously for the mana regen and maybe the extra sustain you get through Cure Scurvy.
Yeah, here comes Zoran into the bottom lane, and I think this is TCA's cue to just back away a little bit. They are going to be able to clear away the pink ward, though, in the end. Zoran decides not to commit to anything, and we don't see Toaster and Nutri move forward to try and go for the tower dive. I was going to say that felt very risky, especially looking at the health bars of both Nutri and Toaster there. And they are going to decide that the Infernal Drake is a consolation prize that they're more than happy to accept.
I would take that every day of the week, and especially given that they pushed both Deadly and Raisins back to the turret. Deadly probably was never in a position to be able to duel for that dragon. It was an easy take there for Last Remedy. I love teams that when they get pressure on bot and they force them to back, they immediately capitalize by taking an objective like Dragon, and Last Remedy are rewarded. But it's probably what most people would argue is the most relevant Drake to take in pretty much a universal situation. It is that Infernal Drake.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, damage is damage, right?
Damage is damage,
at the end of the day, it's always going to be nice to be able to get just that little bit extra. So, Last Remedy, while they have, it feels like, been on the back foot in this game, they're only 500 gold down. They've got that Infernal Drake as well, so they're really not doing too bad for themselves, and no towers have been taken. That's one of the key things here. There's no... Obviously, that First Blood tower gold is going to be absolutely huge, and if Last Remedy can be the ones to take that, that will neutralize any kind of gold lead that TCA were able to accrue at this early stage. So, definitely nothing too huge yet, but here we go. Jet is in the jungle, and he's looking for Broxer. Look at the damage coming on through. Broxer has to jump straight over the wall, but Yopper is going to be here as well. They're happy to go for that. Yopper goes for the flash. Risk It suddenly finds himself all alone. Yopper with some interesting pathing there. I'm not sure I would have gone under that tower, but they are going to be able to escape with their lives in the end. Maybe just a little bit nervous of finding Zoran if he went the way around.
And actually, Krogson now going to be trying to start this red buff, but he is warded up, so we'll have to receive the pressure from Jet as well to be able to go for it. Now Deadly forces the exhaust.
Yeah, nice exhaust coming on out, but it's going to be traded by Nutri's exhaust as well. Toaster is so low. One more auto will be enough to take it, and Raisin survives no less. Yopper has teleported in. The Gangplank ultimate will be enough to finish off Raisins, but Nutri will drop as well. The heal comes through. Yopper going to head straight back to base so he can get back up to the top lane. Jet tanks that unlimited power, but he will go down in the end. Broxer managing to capitalize on the kill. Krogson now finds himself alone, does get slowed down, but actually he's turning around. He's maybe looking for this fight. Hemoplague is on cooldown, and he misses his W. I think this is your cue to maybe leave the situation, Krogson.
I actually think the way he was dueling there, he probably could have gone for a 2v1. I believe he used Hemoplague to get the heal immediately onto both members, but was scared about the potential burst damage. But Syndra had just used her ultimate, so there was that ability for you to maybe try and get a 2v1, but like you said, the W was on cooldown, so Sanguine Pool was not able to be used. Had he had that, though, it would have very definitely potentially been a 2v1 outplay for Krogson, but that's not the man of the moment right now. The man of the moment is Yopper, who is 5-0 right now for TCA.
Yeah.
Really stuck with that Fiora. Jet did a good job of applying pressure in a sensible way this time round, and I don't know how Rifty is going to deal with a Ravenous Hydra Fiora at 11 minutes. The only issue that I think Yopper is going to have is because of the Ravenous Hydra, he's going to continuously push waves to turret. And that means that Rifty should be able to, with the barrels, clear them very effectively and start to accelerate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got to say, fair play to Yopper, right? We were saying how Rifty is looking like the MVP so far. He was the one that was absolutely dominant in that first game. And Yopper's basically taken that and said, do you know what? Nah, I'm going to go for MVP. I'm going to outdo my opponent. But Curtain Call comes on through. Look at the damage that can deal. Even just that ultimate alone does so much to the lane opponents of Last Remedy. But again, this gold lead has really not been that significant just yet. Obviously, Yopper is soaring way ahead of Risk It. But across the rest of the map, the leads aren't really in existence at all. Toaster, 25 CS ahead of his opponent, and they're on the same amount of assists, so he's actually managing to get ahead in the bottom lane.
So I want to talk about the vision control here from TCA as well. Look at the I'm not talking about very defensive, I'm talking about super defensive vision. Actually, I'll talk about this afterwards because Risk It.
Yeah, here we go, 2 versus 2. Jet's tanking the tower, Risk It will go down. Yopper tanking a little bit too long though. Nice little bit of lifesteal. Broxer solo, the Undertow can't finish it though! And he gets the turnaround! Broxer with a double kill. I can't believe that went so wrong for TCA. Krogson now has found himself in a terrible situation. The ultimates are being traded back and forth, but Krogson's all out of HP. The red buff will finish him off. And Broxer is on 6 kills now. He's rivaling Yopper up in that top lane, and he's looking to pull Last Remedy back in.
Such a good idea to go for the dive from TCA, but so poorly executed. There was one moment as Jet was trying to run away from the turret, that actually Yoppa decided to move backwards away.
Uh-oh, Raze?
Yeah, Raze.
Ah, he's okay, he's okay. Continue.
Yoppa actually moved away from Rifty on Gangplank and then jumped back in with Lunge. Had he gone straight in and procced Vitals, he might have been able to get that and use Lunge to get away. But it was just such a good idea, but poorly executed from TCA. And actually, like you said, has given a huge lead that Yoppa had, allowed Rifty to make some work back. And actually, wow.
Well, there goes the Karma support, and there goes Deadly as well. Or will he actually manage to get away with it? The final curtain call won't reach, manages to sidestep the Deadly Flourish as well. So we'll be able to escape with his life and walk away from that deadly situation. Krogson again in a 1v1 against Zoran. This time he seems to be winning out, getting a lot of damage down, and he's looking to finish things off. If he can just land the skill shots, nice little pull to dodge the ultimate. But in the end, neither of them able to finish off the kill.
Yeah, but they are going to use this time now to pressure this mid lane turret. Krogson actually going to force Zwyron to stay here. He does have flash, but forces the flash from Zwyron as well.
Yeah, so just summoners traded back and forth there. Broxer was there as well, so had Krogson gone for that kill a little bit deeper, had Zwyron not flashed, I think it would have just been a kill trade regardless. But all in all, this is a much closer game than what we saw on the first map. This is a completely different TCA, and I think it's almost completely down to how the draft went. They stand so much better of a chance in this early game situation now that they don't have so many late game champions and no real way to get them to the late game.
And also, I much prefer TCA when they're being proactive, Munchables, when they are essentially being the ones trying to dictate the pace. Like they have in the top lane, they have been so proactive in that top lane against Rifty. They've really looked to put the pressure on one of the biggest carries from Last Remedy, and they're being rewarded for it. They're even going to get the Rift Herald here because they saw that pressure onto the bot lane coming out from Last Remedy, but are they going to give the Dragon in exchange?
It looks like that will be the case here. I'm curious to see whether... Actually, they don't even get the Rift Herald here. Nice bit of pressure from Riskit and Zoyron. Forces them away from that, and that means just an objective for free there, going the way of Last Remedy.
And it was just poor timing as well, though, from TCA, because Krogson had just backed. Had Krogson been there to apply pressure to Syndra, that would have almost certainly been a Rift Herald, and that means that they're going to get a Earth Drake or Mountain Drake for free, and then go and capitalize on that bot lane turret. And something I wanted to point out ages ago is that the defensive warding from TCA has been major, but Riskit again goes down there.
I don't know how Yoppa consistently is finding these 1v1 situations. Riskit just really simply not giving Yoppa the respect that is required at this stage. He is so fed, you cannot go anywhere near him. I think he was actually trying to take his Krugs at that stage, and Yoppa just went, do you know what? Your jungle is my jungle. Everything that you own is in fact mine, and just put that pressure on. Managed to get himself another kill, but now we can see Last Remedy starting to trend towards this bottom side of the map, and they're looking to make something happen. Jet has found Zoyron in the mid lane, though. The rest of Last Remedy aren't going to arrive in time, or are they? Jet trying to finish this one off. Undertow doesn't connect, though. He dodges from the collateral damage, and he will be able to escape. Yoppa's arrived. Jet will finally go down, but this is not looking good for Broxer. He's so low on HP. The Vitals will be procced, and the shutdown goes across to Krogson. Beautiful fight for TCA. 2 for 1, and a mid lane tower to boot.
And they're actually going to put a lot of pressure on here because Rifty has to deal with that top lane wave. And it looks like, well, Toaster didn't even get involved in the fight. He had to back all the way off. I've got to say, I was about to mention the vision coming up from Last Remedy. They have been super aggressive with their vision in the red side jungle, but all of that over-aggression led to them being caught out on the flank by Krogson and by Jet, and that allowed them to capitalize and pick up that mid lane turret. And that will now allow them to expand their own vision into the red and blue side jungle of Last Remedy. And this could be a good start. Deadly takes a lot of damage, though.
It certainly does. Deadly has been found out. Riskit gets a nice, easy little pick onto the enemy AD carry. I don't think they quite realized that he was in any trouble at that stage. And Yoppa is going to be able to get the Rift Herald buff, but he's going to trade his own life for it in the end. And in fact,
or is he?
He didn't even get the buff in that situation. Krogson going to be able to pull away, but not for very long. Nutri finishes off that kill with a rabid bite, and now Jet has managed to find his way onto Riskit. But they're not going to be able to chase this one. Toaster has arrived, and he is going to be a pretty scary AD carry to deal with. Even when you're 0, 1, and 4, if you're playing on the Jhin, you are going to deal so much damage.
And all of that basically distraction happening in the blue side and Rift Herald is going to allow TCA, or rather Last Remedy, to move straight onto this second tier turret in the mid lane and take it very quickly. Both Jhin and Graves are very good when unopposed at taking turrets. The only issue they have is they obviously need to get quite close to make this kind of work happen. And they weren't able to have anyone defending it because obviously Krogson at that point was distracted by, well, getting killed and being forced out by the Jhin ultimate there. So really good play from Last Remedy, nice rotations. But I've got to say, what was Deadly doing? Right at the start there, Deadly prioritized picking off a barrel than basically trying to save his own skin. He had his ultimate up, he didn't have flash, so he couldn't escape. Decided to take a full barrel to the face there from Rifty. Went for the 50-50 of who can proc the barrel first, and got punished for it.
Yeah, unfortunate stuff there coming on through, but still this game actually very, very even. 2,500 gold in favor of Last Remedy at almost 20 minutes into the game. It is a lead, but it's not so significant that I feel like Last Remedy are running away at this stage. I feel like this is actually a lot closer than, to be honest, I was expecting after watching that first match.
The real issue for me is that all of TCA's hopes lie in the ability for Yopper to continuously split push and be a split push threat over and over, because it's 8-1 right now. The rest of the team isn't particularly doing very well. I've also got to look at Krogson's build. He's gone for the Abyssal Scepter, which, I mean, yeah, that's pretty great, but you're basically looking for a team-wide effect if you're going for an Abyssal Scepter. You're looking to say, I get right into the middle of you, I use Hemoplague, I'm looking to deal as much damage as possible. Most people would go for the Spirit Visage, especially in a 1v1, because it gives you the sustain, and obviously you're expecting to deal with Syndra, I guess, in a 1v1 matchup, so you want that extra magic resist as well. The Abyssal Scepter screams to me that he wants to have a teamfight impact, but teamfight just doesn't seem to be what's happening here for TCA.
Well, it might be soon because Krogson has been caught out, but I don't think this will count as a team fight because Krogson is well and truly on his own here. Manages to flash the collateral damage though, but Toaster is going to flash straight after him and finishes off the Blood Mage. Here we go though. Baron is going to be kicked off. There is going to be the ultimate coming out from Risk It to kind of deter this one, and that it will do. Here comes Nutri as well. They may be looking to try and chase this one down, punish the lineup of TCA for such a bold call. But in the end, I don't think they'll actually catch up onto anyone here. It is just going to be a kill in the end and a lot of pressure set up for Last Remedy.
And that's the real power of Gangplank. You can single-handedly stop things like objectives just through the use of your ultimate. And actually now Yopper is going to have to essentially give up this turret for free because everybody was forced back from that Baron engage. So again, Last Remedy able to capitalize on a mistake by TCA, rather a mistake by Krogson. And that basically gives them yet more advantage to push forwards and get the 2-0 win in this series. But TCA are looking a lot better than they did last time round, especially Yopper.
Yeah, and speaking of Yopper, he's going to be able to take away this bottom lane tower. And that is going to even up this gold gap just slightly here. The Last Remedy have managed to blow wide open at this stage. Still 4,000 even after that tower goes down. And Yopper doing his very best to keep his team in the game at this stage. Nice little last hit on that barrel as well. Perfectly timed to stop Risk It being able to get any of that damage across.
This is the better situation for TCA because I think a 1-3-1 would be ideal for them. And Yopper and Krogson are starting to feel that presence because they've got such good disengage, but wow.
Damage onto Nutri right now. Grand Challenge is going to go down and the heal will be there. It saves Jet's life. Yopper will trade his own for that of the support though. And Jet will drop. Curtain Call comes on through. Deadly takes 500 from the Curtain Call. A double kill lands in the hands of Toaster 1-2-3. And yet another Mountain Drake will be going their way unless they can find an even juicier objective.
They may even be looking to set up a Baron here. And this is the problem with the 1-3-1. You can't get drawn into these engages. Although Yopper is very strong, Fiora is very easily dealt with in a teamfight situation. Exhaust is literally your worst enemy in a lot of situations. I think TCA's win condition lied in their ability to go, okay, throw Krogson in the top lane, throw Yopper in the side lane, allow them to not get distracted, and then we just go for a 1-3-1 where we have our mid lane look for siege and disengage if we have to. But it looks like Baron going to be an easy picking here for Last Remedy, and you don't think that TCA could do anything to deal with it.
No, absolutely not. Krogson looking for the duel with Zoyrin, but again, just not able to finish off these kills. And that's been the story of this matchup, to be honest. Both of them trying to find these opportunities on the enemy mid laner, but never quite being able to finish off the kill.
I would have much preferred to see, like I said, the actually Yopper has flash. He's not going to go for it.
Yeah, I do think that would have been a little bit overkill to flash for that one, but he's still going for it, still chasing Zoirin away. I think maybe just trying to force pressure, force someone else to come up to this top lane perhaps. But in the end, it is going to be Zoirin escaping back to base, and now 3 players from Last Remedy head towards this bottom lane to begin the siege on the tier 2 tower.
So we also see a Rylai's coming out on Zoirin that's basically saying that he wants to be able to control the pace of teamfights. He wants to, on top of the Jhin ultimate, allow him to be more effective at landing his curtain call. And especially it slows down Olaf, who isn't using his ultimate. It slows down the speed boost from Raisins and Deadly with their respective speed boosts.
Oh, here we go. The tower dive once more. Risk It, though, is easily tanky enough for this situation. Yopper barely survives that engage, to be honest, so a little bit risky, but an inhibitor tower has just gone down in the bottom lane. They can't be just bleeding objectives like this. Last Remedy are looking for the mid lane tower as well. It's all falling apart for TCA. This game had been looking so good for them, but this Baron seems to be all Last Remedy needed to break open the armor that was TCA's inhibitor towers. Now Zoirin is going to be chased down here. Does not manage to get the stun because Ragnarok is coming on through, but they can't close the gap. They can't start the team fight, and they get away with murder.
So that's the problem with TCA. If you don't have pressure in the side lanes, your ability to defend against Siege is awful. The composition they had previously was very good at defending against Siege. They had the Anivia, they had a lot of wave clear in the bank, but there is no wave clear here for TCA. Vladimir, as a champion, has to commit his body to clear waves in a lot of situations, which just is going to be very bad against the Siege potential coming out from Last Remedy, especially with the Rylai's on that Syndra. So you can see here that basically Baron just accentuates the weaknesses of the composition of TCA, and if Yopper and Krogson are the ones split pushing in the side lane, then they don't really have anything else to defend against when it comes to a siege.
No, absolutely. Another Drake going the way. I think that was it. That's not Mountain Drake.
That was third Mountain Drake, I think.
Was that Mountain Drake?
Yeah, that was Mountain Drake. No.
I got confused by the symbol
I
on
will
the
double
wall.
check for you, my friend.
I'm not even sure at this stage. I think it was a Mountain Drake, but the Infernal
No,
Drake
Cloud
appeared
Drake.
on the...
They've got Cloud, Mountain, and Infernal at this point in time.
Oh, okay. So the next Drake is the Infernal Drake. I looked at the symbol on the wall, but it had already changed for the next Drake then. But here we go. Broxet doing a lot of damage onto Krogson. And Raisins, there's the curtain call. Nice little snipe coming through from Toaster. And that is just another pick going the way of Last Remedy. This is going to be an inhibitor for sure. Potentially looking at 2 inhibitors right now. There's no way that TCA can actually start a team fight here. And this is the issue. When your Fiora is the one that's super fed, you can't start team fights. Fiora is not a team fight champion. Here she goes, though, onto Zoirin, trying to make things happen. But there is the flash, and that is just going to ruin his day. Yopper has to try and escape, but I don't know if he's going to be able to. And even if he can, their Nexus towers are under siege. 8 seconds until Vladimir's back, but Krogson alone is not going to save this one. Deadly goes down. Risk It escapes with his life as Yopper cannot finish off the kill. Another kill goes the way of Broxer. 9-3-4 on the Graves. Broxer doing so much work for his team in this game. Krogson trying to keep his team in the game, though. Does manage to get a kill onto the mid laner. The top laner goes down as well, but it's not enough. Toaster is cleaning house. Double kill comes through for the Jhin. That is going to be the curtain call, not only for the game, but also for the series. Last Remedy managed to take out TCA 2-0 here in the UK Premiership.
Well, Munchables, your prediction came correct here. I felt like there was definitely room for a 2-for-1 there for TCA, but their win condition relied heavily on Fiora's ability to split push. The rest of the team didn't quite step up to that strategy. They should